I was recently updating the publications on my LinkedIn profile and talking about Prosperity Homestead. Of course, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. I described the publication here as advocating natural farming, self-sufficiency, and regenerative agriculture. We deliver practical skills on permaculture design, ecologically sustainable living, and indigenous practices. Now, what does all that mean? Well, I want to share with you today the value of these core concepts in managing your small farm, homestead, or estate. We all know that prices are going up and land is in some places quite scarce. So how do we get the maximum use out of our land and productive value from that land without harming the land so that it diminishes its ability to produce? So that's ecological sustainability. Can we put a house on that land that doesn't take away from the land? It provides outdoor and indoor living spaces. It's energy efficient. It provides the family or an appropriate family scale. So I know a lot of folks that are subscribers, they're 55, 65, the kids are about to be out of the house permanently as if they're starting a family of their own or finally moving out. And a 5-bedroom McMansion with a postage stamp yard, or even worse, just a little small, sliver of a yard, doesn't serve you for the outdoor recreational activities, the entertaining activities, the other activities that you desire, and perhaps you're downsizing. So you're going to get a smaller house on a bigger piece of land. Now, once you have that bigger piece of land, what are you going to do with it? How do you select the land? What do you look for in a piece of land? When you first purchase the land, do you just clear all the trees off of it and build a house? Or are there ways to get land now and start enjoying it long before you might even build a house in the future? We did that with one client where they purchased a piece of land and we made it more accessible for recreational hunting and such because their kids are still in the house, and it'll be another 5 or 10 years before they move out where they would want to reduce the size of their home footprint. Some people who are in our newsletter, they're environmentally minded. They want to reduce their carbon footprint, but practically they know that carbon isn't the only thing going in the atmosphere. So they're concerned about plastics in the soil. They're concerned about the quality of the food they eat. And that's where natural farming comes in. Natural farming and permaculture is a very low input system that works with nature using indigenous plants, using different types of selections of crop and cover in order to get the most out of land. Now, on my YouTube channel, I share things that are generally understandable by the public, but at Prosperity Homestead, we do talk about the details of land management, including using the waste, the organic waste on the property to fertilize your garden so you don't have to buy any fertilizers. We've talked about biodigestion, where you can take food waste and even animal manures and turn that into a quality fertilizer. There are ways of handling other types of waste on your property. See, I live in a neighborhood, and I've lived in a neighborhood over the years, and I own farmland now and work on a farm. But I see people put out on their curb leaves. I see people put out on their curbs brush and sticks and other things that I see as input resources that they're having removed from their property because they see it as a burden. I want to change that a little bit. We took the brush from our property, mounded it up, and then using a barrel actually reduced it down into charcoal. That charcoal is being inoculated. It's going to go into the garden area and actually feed the soil. Now, we burn that material in such a way, mainly sticks and things. We burned it down in such a way that it actually retained the original mass. See, a lot of people don't understand that when you burn a pile of leaves or you burn a pile of wood and the wood's no longer there when you're done, that wood's gone into the atmosphere in the form of gases, different types of volatile gases, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, not as much methane. Methane comes when it decomposes. But my point being is that with the right understanding, you may actually have all the resources you need on a small piece of property to do many, many more abundant things, to have a garden, to have small animals, to have outdoor entertaining or eating spaces, to have the entertainment value of your property. Not just a beautiful property, but a property that is highly functional. Now, once you understand this, you can actually scale it to larger pieces of property, 5 acres, 50 acres, 100 acres. And that's what we're talking about ecological and sustainable living. Could you continue to do on your piece of property what you're doing today forever? Do you have the financial security to do so? Do you have the food security? When it comes to quality food, are you getting foods that are high nutritional value? Foods that are true to seed, meaning you can just keep planting the seeds from the fruit. You harvest half of the fruit, you let the other half go to seed, and now you plant that seed and have a garden again. Food forest is an excellent idea. It's a permanent food-producing forest system. Now, that could be an orchard. That could be a multi-layered forest system that has vines and fruit on the trees and tubers on the ground. It's just an amazing value to have your land produce for you. Now, what I share actually has a heavy historical context because this is how land was managed for thousands and thousands of years. Very often people today look externally for solutions, and there was some big homestead movements in the 70s. Prior to that, there was some back to the land movements in the 1950s, 1940s. And long time ago, folks would just build their own houses. They'd start with a small house and they'd add on to it. And we have examples of glorious estates and even homesteads that are still in operation today, hundreds of years after they're produced. What if you could have that value at your home? What if, as a property owner, you could have a homestead, which is your home place, usually more self-contained than a typical family home, or a small farm that often works with local communities and has some kind of entrepreneurial element, or even an estate, which could be a large land mass that has a small business or a work-from-home business. It could have connections with other types of financial opportunities, forestry activity, for example, or it could just be a significant family investment. One of the folks I've worked with in the past actually had a large piece of land, had a lake on it, had a couple cabins, and it was their family and community vacation location. They'd have family reunions there, and then some of the family members would hunt and spend a week there. These are just the tip of the iceberg of the opportunities that are there. Now, what I like to do in the future is actually start touring more of the regional areas. I know somebody who's restoring an old southern estate. I've been down to Renolda in North Carolina. Different types of mansions. You've got the George Washington estate. But I'd also like to feature some of the subscribers because I've seen some great opportunities for where folks have taken a normal neighborhood front yard and backyard and turned it into beautiful wildflowers, an abundance of vegetables and fruit trees and berries. And I want you to understand how valuable these insights are, because the self-sufficiency and the regenerative agriculture gives you your own personal oasis, your own personal Garden of Eden. So that's really what it's about. I was updating my LinkedIn profile, mentioning the Prosperity Homestead publication, and I wanted to just go into a little detail with you about really what this is about. If you have questions about your home, maybe you're dreaming of a homestead, maybe you want a more agrarian life, more entertainment, more quality food, visit www.prosperityhomestead.org. Go to the contact page and ask your questions. I would love to hear from you. I would love to have the opportunity to answer your questions, whether it's in our podcast, our newsletter, or some of our training programs that will be coming up in the next 12 months or so. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. We're here to help homeowners, property owners, to get more from their small farm, homestead, or estate. Help them have that oasis at home, that value that comes from the land without depleting the land. Thanks for listening.